Okay, so now that we can spawn our enemies, let's go ahead and create a system to spawn our power-ups. Now, similar to how we did the enemy spawn routine, we'll also have an IE numerator for our power-ups. So we'll go ahead and say IE numerator, and we'll call it power-up spawn routine. Okay, let's go ahead, power-up spawn routine. And inside here, what I want to do is we need to pick a random value between, I want to basically spawn a random power-up every 5 seconds. So I have 3 power-ups, which means I need a random number between 0, 1, and 2. Again, numbers start at 0, so 3 would be 0, 1, and 2. So here, we're going to store that value into a variable called int random powerup, and we're going to call it, we're going to call it random powerup. So int random powerup equals random.range, and I want a value between 0 and 2. So it could be 0, 1, or 2. We'll go ahead and end that with the semicolon. So what's going to happen here is we're going to run this routine. We're going to pick up a random power-up, and then we're going to go ahead and instantiate that random power-up. So we're going to say here, instantiate, and we're going to instantiate our power-ups. Now, the power-ups is an array. Which index do we want, 0, 1, or 2? We're going to use the random ID received from random power-up. So here, random power-up, and then we're going to spawn it at a random position. So we'll go ahead and say new vector 3, and we'll go ahead and spawn it on the x random range between -7 and 7 on the x. We'll go ahead and say 7 on the y, so it's above the screen, 0 for z, and then we won't care about the rotation, so we say quaternion.identity for default or no rotation. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. And we have an error here, and the reason why it's erroring out is because in order for a coroutine to be valid, we have to have at least one yield return statement. So where should we put this? So here we're picking a random power up, and then we instantiate it. After instantiating it, we're going to say yield return new wait 4 seconds, and we're going to say 5.0f. And we want this to happen for as long as the game is running, which means all of this will have to go inside a while loop that's true to create an infinite loop that will continue running until we stop the game. Let's go ahead and put our code inside of there. And last but not least, we have to start the coroutine. So here we're going to say start coroutine, power up spawn routine, initialize it in there, end it with a semicolon, and we should be good. So you'll see here that we do have another error, and let's see what it doesn't like. We instantiate a power up, and we give it a new vector 3. We give it a random range. Oh, here you go. We are missing, so here we have an open close. For every open close parenthesis, you needed a closing parenthesis. So here we have an open, and then we only have one close. So here, after the Z position, we add another close. Okay, save this. Head back into Unity. Let's go ahead and test it out. All right, so every 5 seconds we should have a power-up spawn, and as you can see here, the first power-up was a speed power-up, and there's our triple shot right over there. And let's see if we can get a, there's our speed power-up right over there, if we can get that. Another speed, but as you can see, it is randomizing what's being spawned. And we are getting quite a bit of speeds. Here's our triple shots. Now I haven't seen our shields yet, so I want to keep going until we can at least try and get a shield and make sure that our code is correct. A lot of speeds and a lot of triple shots. Now, one thing I do want to check is the scripting reference for random.range. Now, it did say it was inclusive, so for instance, if I do a random range between 0 and 2, it should return 0, 1, or 2. Let's see here. So using 0, 10 will return values between 0 and 9. If max equals min, min will be returned. Okay, wait. Okay, so here, this is actually really important. When working with int values returns a random integer value between min and max exclusive. So this is actually only going to return a 0 or a 1. So we actually need to change this to be 0 and 3. Now we have the options of getting a 0, a 1, or a 2. The only way we can get a 0 or 3 is if these were float values. So change it to a 3 there. Now we should be able to see a variation between the shield, the triple shot, and the speed. All right, and here's our shield. Got another shield there. Alrighty. And let's go ahead and let's get killed here. Okay, there we go. So now we have our power-up spawning in nicely, and we have our enemies spawning in. Later in this course, when we start getting involved with game states and like creating the UI and stuff like that, we'll be revisiting the spawn manager to add customizations. For instance, instead of just doing a while infinite loop, we might go ahead and do it while the player is alive. Let's go ahead and do this, or while the game hasn't started yet. So this is all logic that's to come later in the course, and we'll be revisiting the spawn manager to make it more advanced. I'll see you guys in the next section.